Morning, welcome back. Big topic today. I think I say that most weeks actually. All emotional states of being are trances. So sounds like a big call. We may get that anxiety, depression, sadness, grief, those sorts of emotions may be easier to let that sink in that they're trances. But what about when we talk about the other side, when we talk about happiness being a trance as well?
How can happiness be a trance? So it is true that everything pretty well is a trance if you're going into anything that you're using your mind for. And this includes your subconscious mind, which is really, until you start exploring it, until you start really digging around in there and finding out how you create all your patterns and programs and things in your life, that's fairly unknown to you. So when I first started doing this work and started learning that everything was a trance, I was like, wow, okay, so I didn't know why I would get triggered around certain things, and I would suddenly be, for example, in a lecturing trance to my children. All of a sudden, I just want to lecture them, and I'm doing my dad. I've just turned into my dad. Why did I just turn into my dad? And my daughter's face is just like blank. And I remember one time my husband came up to me and it's like, Ilka, you're doing a Gavin. That's my dad's name. And I was so annoyed at him because by this stage I'd done a lot of tapping on myself, and I was priding myself on the fact that I don't do these things anymore so much. But that day I was, and that was about 3 years into my tapping journey. And it was a pivotal moment because I actually thought, oh, as much as this is so annoying, he is right. Like this is not helping anybody. It's not helping me. It's not helping my daughter. And I am in this trance that I just learned how to do from my dad. And I think it's helping. But it's just seriously it's a lecturing trance.
So there's the relationship between being triggered and being in your trance, and you're recreating the past because your father used to lecture you. Is that right?
Yes. So an example of a happy trance would be that when I used to go out working when I was younger, like in my 20s, and I'd be working and I'd be getting up at 5 in the morning and going out, and then I'd work at a restaurant at night until 11 o'clock, and I'd ring my dad and I'd say, oh, I'm working so hard, Dad. And I felt really happy, I can tell you. I was so happy because I'm doing the thing, I'm getting some praise, even if it's just a little bit. As I'm doing it, I'm thinking I'm going to get praise for this, I'm going to get praise, and I'm happy. But funnily enough, down the track from that, I'm really not doing it because I'm in the present moment. I'm coming from a place of this is really about my sense of self and who I am. It was really still coming from my childhood programming.
And also, so just further on from that, when you were doing that, it really wasn't till down the track when your body told you that it wasn't the right thing for you, when you'd need to rest for days.
Yeah. Eventually my body would catch up, and my body would say, now you're sick, Ilka, or now you're really tired, and now or my mind would start eventually saying, I can't do this anymore, and I'd be dragging myself out of bed and saying, I can't do this anymore. So but in the original things, I'm happy. So it depends on, like, if you're a Buddhist monk who's been sitting in a cave meditating for 20 years, you may, the mastery of present state awareness. Like, I can stay in present state awareness. Maybe I've mastered 2 seconds so far. I can do that in different times in my day. And one of my mentors actually showed me to do it for 2 seconds, and just how beneficial even that is, which is to, go into your breath, to notice to notice exactly where you are. Be in the present moment.
Be in your body.
Yeah, be in my body, noticing all those things, noticing my senses, and really it's about switching the mind off.
Which people
Something I found very
can
difficult.
do. Like I've spoken to surfers and sports
yeah,
players
another one.
when they're doing their thing in flow, in joy, in bliss.
Mm.
They're in the present moment doing that.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And they're not thinking about the past or placing past memories into the future. They're just being in the moment.
Yeah, and if later on, if you said to those surfers, what were you experiencing out there? Some of them might actually say to you, oh, I was really happy. But they weren't thinking that in the moment.
Yeah.
They were actually just in the moment. So this is a very different state of being. But the main important point we want to get across this morning is that you can take control of whether you're in if you're going into negative trances a lot, which was me in the past. Like I was always doing a negative trance.
And the choice, the big thing, like the choice to work long hours during the day if you're energetic, as long as that's coming from a healthy place, present moment place, then that's fine to do, as long as you're making the conscious choice that is for you. That's what you want to do. It's not coming from past programming and from getting this feeling based on something that's happening outside of you.
Yeah. So trances, trances more you're getting something outside of you. That's so true. And what about you, Jo? What trances were you good at with your kids?
Oh, I've shared before the Saturday morning clean your room trance.
Which came from your own childhood.
Yeah. When I think I'm just, this is how I'd be a good mother. This is what you do, and you tidy your room until, I hung out with my younger sister, and she told me about how she would be with her son when she asked him to tidy his room, and he would do it, and she'd go into the cupboards and she'd say, these aren't folded properly, and she'd pull them out and have him do them again. And then one other time I'm at my older sister's place, and we'd been there for a few days, with 3 kids, and it's getting a bit like close confines, and next thing she's in one of the rooms, and shoes come flying out of the room. Like, got to tidy the room up like this, like go crazy. Can't just ask. And this is something my oldest daughter said to me years later, when I was able to receive constructive criticism, let's say, when she said, what you used to do Saturday mornings, like you didn't have to talk to us like that,
Yeah, but if that's such a good point. That is the other one that probably is the most common thing we get told, is that I sound like my mother. I hear the same words coming out of my mouth to my children that my mother gave to me.
Yeah, that I never wanted to recreate. I was quite adamant I wasn't going to do that, yet here it is, this automatic behaviour coming out.
Yeah, so these are probably the biggest trances that people bring to our parent calls each week, that they want to tap on and not be going into those negative trances. Or they would call them negative. So how do we do it? How do you change negative trances? And
just now we don't call them negative trances, we call them opportunities.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
when we can see them, like it's a huge step to be going into the trance, to take that step of having awareness around the trance, then you can do something about it. But as long as you just continue without any awareness. So sometimes having, like where I had that conversation with my younger sister and saw my older sister's behaviour, that's when I go, oh wow, and I become aware, and then there's an opportunity for a change in perception.
Yes, and yeah, exactly. So the first step, as we always say, is awareness. You've got to become aware that you're actually even in a trance. That's why I had to thank my husband eventually for that day and pointing that out to me, even though it wasn't good at the time. But when you become aware of them, the deeper work that we do on the calls in the course is to actually go back and find where some of these trances originated from, like what was happening in your own childhood. Now, for me, what I've done is gone back and changed a lot of the emotional feeling states that were associated with sitting, sometimes for half an hour, sometimes for an hour, listening to my own father lecturing me and not being able to get up and move. Not even being a bit scared to ask if I can go to the toilet sometimes if he's mid-sentence. Because so this was something that I experienced many times, and it's just something that's part of my subconscious. Now, until I started doing Faster OT, I didn't know that all that stuff back there is actually controlling how I operate and behave, particularly when I get a bit triggered or I'm stressed. I go into these behaviours that was my life growing up.
Side note,
yeah.
Let's throw in a bit of humour. Ilka and I didn't meet one another till a few years ago, but one of our similarities, not being able to speak up, just when you said about sometimes you wouldn't even ask your father if you could go to the toilet if he was mid-sentence. Just so happens that we both, living in different states of Australia, happened to pee our pants in the classroom in grade 3, not being able to go, hey, can I go to the toilet?
Yeah.
Not being able to speak up.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. So which would have been another trance. It was sitting there in the classroom in a fear. So
fear.
Fight, flight, freeze. These are all trances. They're probably the real base level trances when you're in that's the anxiety one. And so we have a tapping video in this group that you can go and access and start really like getting your fingers up and doing this tapping process that we teach in this group to start breaking yourself out of the trances. So that day when my husband said, Ilka, you're in a trance, after I was like, F you, after that moment, I was like, okay. And I just started tapping because I know I want to shift past this stuff. I don't want to live in these trances my entire life. And I started just saying, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. And until I started doing that, I was still convinced that it was helping my daughter. Like I'm doing something useful here.
Yeah, so
when I wasn't.
When you're doing this and it's a pattern interrupter, you're interrupting the neural pathways. And stopping that, I call it, like I've done it many times, get in my head and do the spiral downwards, and one negative thought just leads into another and another and another until they're just totally overwhelming and I'm deep in my shit. So when we're tapping, we're stopping the process, and that's where like the awareness to choose a behaviour to interrupt what's going on for you. That's the gold.
Yeah, that is the gold. And then the deeper work that we do on the calls is to actually go back. And for example, that, like I said, that memory with me and my father, I have actually changed that, where I created lots of memories with him now where he's got like a ukulele, and so we're having fun and we're playing music, and I'm like doing funny, like I used to be able to do this thing where I kick my legs like down on the ground. So, those Russian dances, where they go like that. And it's all sorts of so it's funny to me. So I have memories back there now that don't have the emotional charge in them that they had before. And if I go back and look at them, I can laugh. And I've done that with many memories, like hundreds of my memories. So, and as you do that, then the brain does not have access to ways to create depression or create anxiety, because all of those states of being are being created by your subconscious mind. And we had a history of depression in my family. So I had many times where I saw my grandfather and my father depressed like that. I had thousands of those memories. And then I wonder why I would feel depressed sometimes and think that that was a state of being that was just, and people think like again, this is not, I don't give medical advice. This is only my opinion. But because I have the experience of changing all the memories, that I haven't gone back into these really, like I could get myself into deeply depressed states, and I just haven't gone there again since changing all of the memories. So it's very powerful to do this, really extremely powerful, and powerful stuff happens when you start changing what's in the subconscious. And you can't go into the, so then you've got control over the negative, or the opportunities you had, the opportunities that your triggers bring you. You get so much more control over that. And then the other part of Fast EFT is like learning how to control what's the positive in your mind. And that is, so it is around creating happy states of being, but more in, something that really lights you up, like maybe it's your puppy dog's face, or your, before you, this is pre-becoming a Buddhist monk and being able to meditate for hours on end and stay in the present moment. We do this work first because this is step one. Okay, when I first started Fast EFT, it was really difficult for me to stay in a happy memory and not F it up. Yeah. Like I was good at bringing in some guilt. Oh, I shouldn't be having a good time. But these days, I can go to my happy place, which with me is a gorge in the Northern Territory, and I can like see the beautiful blue sky. And I really encourage you, if you're new to this group, to think about what is it that you can put inside your mind to create a happier trance than all the negative states of trances that you might be practicing every day. Because if you can start to understand that you're in control of your fantasies that you've got in your brain, like my mentor Robert says, you want to have a fantasy, you've got to create some good ones.
Yeah. And if you keep going back to those unserving trances, then you make them stronger. The more you go over that story, share the story with your friends, get back into it again, you're just going to strengthen it and make it easier to retell it. So you've got to pattern interrupt, break the trance. And we have some really cool stories that some of the members of our group have been sharing, how they've worked with Ilka and then they've gone away, they've learned the tools, and then they've
and they've been on a group call together.
The group call together, and then they're out and about, and they're helping one another by calling up one another when they feel like they're in a trance that they can't do anything about, except now they have the awareness to know that it's a trance and they can change it.
Yes.
So they can make a phone call to their friend, the other member, other mum, and be breaking trances all over the place. It's the ripple effect. It's people know what to do, and then they share it with others. And
so instead of having a panic attack, she was laughing in this particular scenario, and just so brilliant. It's like warms my heart to know that is happening in our community. So and we call in Fast EFT, we call breaking a trance a defractionation. So and for short, defrac. So you can use all sorts of things to defrac yourself. And my favourite, because I'm stubborn, is a donkey noise. So if tapping isn't working, because tapping sometimes you've got to really focus on your fingers. That is the whole idea of tapping with Fast EFT, is to break the trance. Get your mind on your fingers tapping, feel them, feel the sound of that happy slappy feeling. You can do it however you want. And the whole idea is to start focusing on that. And then for me, if it's not working, I just start making donkey noises. Start going, and Joe's doing laughter. You're going to be doing a laughter workshop soon.
Yeah,
and that's when you got to...
And laughter, fake laughter turns into real laughter. Like it starts off as fake laughter.
Yeah.
But
you can use that, or you can have all the funny things on your phone. I mean, this is about taking control of your life, and also when we've got little kids, oh my God, what a beautiful thing to be teaching them, that you can break yourself out of these trances. You don't have to stay in any of them.
Yes.
You know?
Or they can teach us, like watch them, how easily they work through move through trances and let it go.
Yeah,
and we hold on to stuff.
Yeah, and that is such a good point. I wanted to make sure we did that one. Because children and animals, you know, they do. They move through things in minutes. And people always ask me, they go, well, Ilka, like how come I don't do that? Like, why do I stay in these depressed states, for example? Or I cried the other day for 3 hours and I couldn't break myself out of it, and I was tapping and, you know, I was trying to break myself out of it, but I kept going back into it. And that's because often, even after, you know, doing lots of tapping and knowing this work, people still not understanding that that's not really our natural state of being, to be in a depressed, crying, emotional state for more than about 90 seconds, unless you are telling a story in your brain. So you've got to, and again, this goes back to the subconscious. There's all this stuff in there that is controlling that. Maybe you don't know what it is, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you're actually playing pictures in there, or you're talking to yourself in a negative way. And I've done this many times. This is how I know. And then I'm crying again. And I have to actually focus and talk to myself in a really horrible way to get myself to cry again. And go back, like Jo said, down the rabbit hole. But this is about breaking yourself out of this patterning. And in the beginning for me, it was, you know, sometimes I had to do star jumps to break that trance. It was like sing myself happy birthday. And it seems ridiculous. And we like it, like our depression is serious. Yeah. Like Jo always says, when she first met me and started doing the work, and, you know, you'd done some EFT tapping and that before, but then coming to fast EFT, you know, I'm laughing at some of the things, just like, my problems are serious, you know.
Yes.
We like our misery sometimes. We like our seriousness and how, you know.
We use that term, like we like our misery, we like our pain, but I think if we could just go into that just a touch more, to recognise that it's not that we're choosing to like it even, it's just that
not in the beginning.
It's stuck
because you don't even know.
You don't know. And you don't even know that, like if I remember back in the early days when I started the work, I don't know that there's this peace on the other side. I believe that this is me and this is how I will be forever.
Yes. And that's a good one to get you down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to be like this forever. I'm never going to change. Yeah. And in the beginning, it like some days it still felt like that. So this is the work though, because I wouldn't say it if I hadn't actually been through it. I have to talk from my own experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking to you. But on the other side of it is a more ability to stay in the present moment. Like most of the time now, my mind is like peaceful. When I speak to my children, I can just let them tell me things. I can listen. You know, I still see myself occasionally jump into wanting to go, but I pull myself up these days and just go, okay, and what's going on? And I tell them happy things about my life. And this is how I interact with my kids. And I can't imagine if I'd kept going down the rabbit hole of the negative trances, or the, you know, trances that weren't serving me, is a better way to say it. The trances that didn't serve me, and I kept on with those with my children. I mean, sorry, this sounds terrible, but I just like had a flash of them, you know, feeding me food in the nursing home, and it's running down my cheek. that's probably, I can laugh at that. But you know, this is the power of changing this stuff from our subconscious,
And
empowering yourself.
if any of you, some of you follow me privately on Facebook, and this weekend I'm doing my first laughter workshop, and on my videos that
It's
I
in
put
Agnes
out there.
Waters, if you're wondering.
Yeah,
so it's
4
a fair way
hours
away.
from here, and I'm calling it the Shit Show with Jo because I'm actually sharing the stories of my life, and this is huge for me because I was a child who introverted, lacked confidence, but the biggest thing for me was to pretend to be confident, but inside I'm dying inside. And just 7 years ago I moved here to the coast, and I remember being in a mentoring program, and I said, oh no, I could never be a public speaker, never. We'd just go around a room of 15 people and my hands would get sweaty and my heart race and my throat block up when I just had to talk about my week. And here I am. So this is what allows you to step out of your comfort zone. But also I'm going to, like, in sharing personal stories, they're all those stories that kept me away from the world, kept me in a shell, kept me away from my husband. I wouldn't let him into my heart because I had to keep all the secrets, all the shame, all the guilt around all the secrets of my past behaviour, and now I'm going to share them.
And laugh a little bit at them.
Yeah.
We talked about in the transformational world, we call it being untriggerable. Right, that's when you get to a place where people can almost say anything to you, and this is what we work on in the calls. It's like I can use that tone that your mother used at you, and you just stay calm inside. That is true, like, power over the subconscious. And we saw the parallel with comedy. It's to be unheckleable. I'm trying to use the word. If you can be heckled and just like still be able to laugh at yourself, that's pretty well the same as this transformational work.
Yeah.
It's all the negative becomes the gift, the wisdom, and the stuff that you experienced in childhood that's no longer serving you as an adult and wasn't fun at the time you now have the power over that. You can change it. You can take the wisdom. You can laugh at it. And you can transform your life moving into the future.
Yes, you can.
Truly powerful stuff. So have a go at breaking a trance today.
Yes, yes. Have a go. Have a go.
And make up your own ways. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I think one of the ways that the friend broke the trance was telling the other lady to look at the checkout chick like she had a hot dog suit on. Like, just silly, crazy stuff. But it works. It works. And this is what little kids are really, really good at. You know, they've still got this amazing imagination. And if you get good at this, just making funny stuff up, kids can break out of their own, learn to break out of their own trances very early in life, which is very cool.
Yeah, and a whole story for another day is the mother's guilt that we hold on to that when we see them in their trances, or when we see them emotionally and they can move through it quickly, but when we've experienced similar as an adult and we choose to hold on to it, we think that the kids are going to do the same and feel bad for a long time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We don't see a child in the same way when we're holding all our own pain.
Yeah.
That is a good topic. Maybe we can do that next
Another day. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for being here with us. Any questions, ask away below.
Yeah.
And
thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Break a trance today.
Yes.
Yeah. See you next Wednesday.
Okay.